So, been a while since I've been on Facebook Live, so I figured I would drop in, see how y'all are doing. Um, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a chiropractor from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and I talk about things that relate to your health, your business, and your mindset. And to me, none of those things is different. And one other thing that I kind of handle that way, or at least similarly, is that I think that all stress is the same kind of stress. And gets a little controversial for people, and I'm okay with a little controversy because I can back my stuff up with facts as opposed to just people who, are worried about their place in the world and how what I say affects them. I'm not even sure what that means. So my point is that stress has become the number one killer. It's always been the number one killer of humans in the world. Stress comes in three different flavors: physical, chemical, and emotional. And any one of those can become the other. You can have a chemical addiction to something that becomes a physical problem where it's damaged an organ or something like that. And then all the emotional fallout that comes along with that. So you and we need to come to some kind of agreement about our lives and how we're going to stop saying it's okay to overstress our bodies, that it's okay to run ourselves to the point where we can't function properly and we can't really have any good feelings about our lives anymore because we are overwhelmed by stress. So how does the stress get to us? And what do we do to make it worse? And then how do we make it better? So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to talk about the three types of stress: the physical, chemical, and emotional stresses. And this week, I just want to talk about what is stress doing to you, and how a lot of the stress that we feel has nothing to do with who we are, what we're actually doing in our lives, and everything about how we perceive things going down in our lives. Because if you're like me, when things get bad, you overanalyze everything and you over worry about everything, and you eventually end up increasing your cortisol levels, increasing your adrenaline, nor your epinephrine levels, and you get into this fight or flight situation that for some reason some of us can't get out of. And that said, what is the best way to get out of that one moment where you start to panic about something with finances, with relationships, with health? What's the one best thing you can do? And the answer is, ask yourself a question. What's true in this situation? What is true in this situation? And be objective about it. Be someone who can look at your own stuff and realize it's probably not as bad as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is. And it's almost never unfixable. Now, I'm sure that the people will go, well, I've got this condition. You can't undo arthritis. That's the one I hear a lot. And the truth is that while you may not be able to undo arthritis, you certainly can make sure that arthritis doesn't get worse, because it doesn't get better. It doesn't stop degenerating. So you need to do things to keep your arthritic self from becoming, more arthritic. And people think just because they have some arthritis now that that's all they're ever going to get. And I can tell you with some certainty that that's not the case. So believing in your body's ability to overcome whatever life and universe throws at you is one of the key components to being able to ask yourself that question: what's true in that situation? You can't fix the problem with the same thinking that got you into the problem. So chances are you're going to have to pop out of that mode eventually. Otherwise, you're going to just end up back where you started again, or worse. You have to do something different. And sometimes you need to have somebody from the outside look at your situation, somebody who's dealt with these situations before. And I just realized that my good camera is not working. I'm on my PC camera here because I moved my laptop around earlier. So you have to get outside the box. One of my favorite sayings is a goldfish doesn't know how wet it is until it flops out of the bowl and lands on the counter or the bureau top. And we had a situation when my kids were young where they had a goldfish, and the goldfish did do that. Actually, it was on top of a bookshelf, and it, like one of those chest height bookshelves, and it flopped out behind the bookshelf. We couldn't find it. It was like a big mystery. Then we pulled a day later. I'm pretty sure it was a day later. Pulled out the bookshelf to look. It was behind it, and we thought, oh well, the fish is all dried out and dead. Well, it was a beta. It wasn't a goldfish. And the beta fish, we then went to have the ceremonial flushing down the toilet, and we threw it in a day and a half later. This is how remarkable, life force is. A day and a half later, we put the beta fish in the toilet to throw it out. And as soon as it hits the water, it starts swimming. Freaked the hell out of me. And my daughter, she was like, maybe 4 or 5 at the time. She freaked out, going, "We can't flush it. We can't flush it." Had to reach into the toilet. Luckily, it was a kid's toilet, so it wasn't too dirty. And we pulled out the fish, and the fish lived for a little while longer. But that's just the resiliency of life. And that kind of resiliency is the thing that you need to do. Who would have thought that fish was still alive when it was being behind that bureau for like almost a day and a half, I want to say. That said, the point we were talking about was being the fish in the bowl and not being able to see anything but your reflection back at you when you don't know how wet you are even in that bowl compared to what is on the other side of it. And that said, you can come up with a new plan for whatever stress presents yourself to. So I had a hypnosis client, more of like a ultimate coaching client that I have these ultimate coaching clients now where we do hypnosis, but we also help them, talk through their problem, their health problem, because a lot of people, what I'm finding, are getting lost as they navigate the medical realm. They're getting lost because of all the information they get from different people. And a lot of times those people are describing the same problem with just different terminology. And what I try to do is when they're really out of control, we sit down for 45 minutes to an hour, and we break it down, and we break down what they're going to do. Sometimes it's just as much as looking at the doctor's orders and seeing where the doctor gave them some latitude about when they could take the medications. If medications are something they need to stay on, taking medications at a different time of day to plan for their day, and it changes people's lives. And sometimes it's just a matter of yelling at them and telling them to get out of their own head to do that. So I had this client today who we went through this sort of situation where she is working with another business owner, and that other business owner is sort of encroaching on her business a little bit, and they have an agreement between them, but the other business owner is not listening to it. So my client needed to have a conversation with that person in order to start the rehabilitation of that relationship, right? And this was something that was getting in her way as a chiropractic patient because she was getting sicker every time she had to deal with this person. So I had to nip this in the butt. And she had the conversation, and it took, like, she hadn't had a conversation. She'd been doing business with this person for a number of years, and it took, and she hadn't had a conversation, and the person had been doing these types of things all along. But she only had conversations with her every once in a while to try to handle it. And then she never followed up on it. So I told her that she had to have this new type of conversation where she had to reconcile with this person and start to find common ground with them instead of telling me all the bad things about this other business owner that she has to deal with every once in a while. And essentially, what we have is, I got her to actually have the conversation after many years, and then told her, dropped the bomb on her, that she had to change how she was reacting with that person, and she had to follow up with an email that sort of summarized that conversation and thank her and be as kind as you possibly can, come at it with love, and try to get this person to do what she wanted to do, the things that she had agreed to do when they got in business, without getting angry, without getting even sicker. And that's what she's doing now. And she's realizes that, again, it's that whole arthritic. You can have this problem, but the problem can continue to get worse if you don't do anything about it and stop the degeneration. That's what happens with relationships. That's what happens with discs in the spine. That's what happens with vertebrae that connect to each other. The joints degenerate. Your knees, your shoulders, they degenerate. And just because they've degenerated doesn't mean that you can't stop that progression of degeneration. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a psychologist or anything like that. What I do know is that these relationships have a direct impact on the work that I do with them to get them healthy, get themselves healthy. And that said, I don't want to get derailed by something that we could easily take care of in a conversation once or twice. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Hopefully somebody will leave a comment. I know some people watch my podcast, some people watch these lives, but I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about this stuff and the relationships in your lives and how they make you ill. How do some relationships, but not only that, how do some relationships make you better? I have friends, when I talk to them, I feel like $1 million after. I feel like I'm absolute $1 million after. Laura Wild, she's on this season of In Alignment with Dr. Sean. And when I'm done talking with her, I feel a lot better. That's true with a lot of the millionaires. And if you don't know what that is, I'm sorry, I'm not going to explain it again. But a lot of the millionaires I talk to, I feel better after, because just some people lift you up and some people drag you down. And it's your job to make sure you have more of those conversations with people that lift you up than drag you down. You can't be in rooms where you're only tolerated. You have to be in rooms where you're celebrated, and you have to hold that standard for everybody. If somebody's not treating you with the honor you want to be treated with, leave. Just leave. You can try to get them to change their behavior. I applaud you for having the conversation. But if you've told them you can't talk to me like that a number of times, and you've told them that you don't want to be treated like that a number of times, then perhaps it's time to just sort of let that relationship go before it makes you more ill, before you've wasted many, many years waiting for somebody who has no desire to change the way that they treat you. So we're back on stress, because I feel like I've gotten off topic a little bit. Stress is the number one killer in our world, and it comes in the form of physical, chemical, or emotional. And any one of those can become the other. In fact, I don't see any of those as any different than the other. And I have clients who get patients and clients who get angry at me about that. Here, we have a plan. Everybody comes in, and we sort of realize that they're going to have postural issues, right? So postural issues are going to keep them from getting better. So where do the postural issues come from? Well, we believe, and been proven, they come from your feet. How your feet hit the ground determines how well your posture starts, right? And over time, your posture distorts because of the way your feet hit the ground. I just got my 11-year-old, she just got feet big enough to get her first set of orthotics. So I'm excited to get those in her feet, because someday I should put a copy of her x-rays up on on, on the internet, on like a social platform or something like that, so you can see like how straight her spine is, and I want to keep it that way. And keeping it that way means fixing her posture. We've done a lot of work to keep her spine that way. She got adjusted from the minute she was 5 minutes old, from the time she was 5 minutes old till just recently. She got adjusted, I think, last night again, and that has worked to keep her pretty straight. Whereas you look at other kids her age that come in here, we had one girl who was about to have surgery because her back was so bad, and we got the orthotics in and we did some adjusting, and she doesn't need surgery anymore. In fact, the orthopedic said, oh, he had managed to somehow magically get rid of the scoliotic change that was causing the problem. So these things happen at a young age. So we fix your feet because we know that you're not going to be going to have any kind of permanency to the change unless we take care of your feet. And then we look at your extremities, we look at your spine, we look at all of the things that we need to do to sort of come up with a plan that usually lasts from anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on how much degeneration you have. Some of you wait so long when you come in, you're in pain so much it takes just 2 or 3 weeks to get you out of that pain because you wait so long and you're so stubborn. So we fix your feet, we fix your pillow, we get you sleeping on a pillow that supports your neck in the proper way so that you don't end up with problems. We do a complete exam, including thermal spinal thermography, where we measure the temperature of your spine. And we measure the temperature of your spine because your brain controls the temperature. And if the nerves are damaged and can't control the temperature, what else can't they do? Not the best test in the world, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And it gives me an idea whether I need to take full spine digital x-rays. And then if you're really stressed out, we put you on the heart rate variability monitor. And the heart rate variability monitor tells us how your autonomic nervous system is working because it shows how your heart is adapting to different situations just by sitting still for a minute. The things that go through your head affect your heart, and it shows up right in that reading. So we look at your x-rays, we look at everything, and we come up with a plan to fix everything, to reduce the stresses of life as much as possible, so that when we get down the road, the permanency of the change, because you have the support of all these other things, the exercises, all the other stuff that we give you, the permanency of the change is greater than if you just sort of quit after you feel good and then show up 6 months later telling us we failed you. 99% of the people who go through my program are told right from the get-go, if you do that, you're going to be told that it was your fault, it was your choice that put you in this position, not our lack of skill or desire to get you well. Can't put a price on this. You can't decide that your insurance only has 12 visits and that's all you need. That's not what that's designed to do. It's an average, or even it was just an arbitrary number that they came up with for 1 month of care in an acute situation. And it's not a real thing. It's not a scientific thing. People need more visits than your insurance pays for. That's just the way it works. I'm sorry about that. I wish insurance paid to make you healthy, but they don't. They keep you unsick or less sick. That's it. That's all they do. They don't owe you anything more than that. They don't promise anything more than that. And the sooner you realize that your health is your responsibility and not mine or anybody else with a lot of letters after their name or an insurance company, the more you own it, the less anxiety you'll have about it, because you should be in charge once you have all the information you need to make an informed decision. But once you make the decision, you have to stick with it. And that's where a lot of people fail and they get stressed out because they start thinking about this and that and how much time and how many times they have to come. That just makes things worse for people. Your stress and your belief about your stress creates your reality. Maybe you've heard about Bruce Lipton, maybe you haven't, but Bruce Lipton is a guy who introduced me to epigenetics. And his book is The Biology of Belief. Maybe I can get him on here someday. And the biology belief basically says that your DNA is a slave to what your body or your cells, what your cells believe about your environment. Plain and simple. If your DNA reacts through an messenger RNA, we've heard a lot about that lately, right? Through messenger RNA from the cell surface or the cell receptors down to the nucleus where DNA is kept, that reacts to what the environment is believed to be by the cell. And if you're constantly stressed out because you're in pain, if you're constantly stressed out because you focus on that pain, and if you're constantly stressed out because you worry about that pain, and then you can plug whatever. It doesn't have to be about pain. It could be any kind of problem, right? It doesn't have to be physical pain. It could be chemical pain. It could be emotional pain. All right. Any kind of those stressors. The more you focus on it, the bigger it gets, and the worse your health is affected. End of discussion. So why is a chiropractor so interested in talking about stress with you? Is because the more stress we reduce in your life, the easier you move through this life, the less friction you have gliding through life, the more likely you are to get better and maybe undo some of the stuff that you've done by not paying attention to this stuff your whole life. Your stress is in your details, and they don't have to be multiple details. It could be just one thing. It could be just fixing your feet. Sort of gives you that ability to go back to golf, ability to pick up your grandchild. It could be the ability to go back and run again. It could be your ability to go back and do marathons again. We've had people like that. But you don't know until you commit to something. And you can't commit based on what the popular press tells you or the medical community tells you, because they don't know anything about what I do. They think they do. They read what their books tell them, but no chiropractor is putting those things in those books for sure. We have to become more aware of our fishbowl and the poop and the rotted food and the little guy at the bottom where we need to straighten out the diver. We have to straighten all that stuff out. We have to become aware of our surroundings and what we believe about our surroundings, and understand that our belief and our thoughts create what happens to us, what happens to our health. You have the absolute ability right now to turn your health around for the better without any help from me or anybody else. Most of us need some help because we need to be reminded of our own sort of ish when we do that. So that said, my name is Sean Shapiro. I am the owner of Port City Chiropractic in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. You may be watching this and you may not be anywhere near me, and that's fine. You can reach out and I can help you find a chiropractor in your area or another healthcare provider, whatever. We can have a conversation. We can get you back towards moving towards a positive result, as opposed to all the negative that you've heard from all your other practitioners to this point. I don't cover my ass here. I tell you what's possible, what I think is possible. And then you decide whether you're willing to see it through. That's it. Easy does it. So this has been a little longer than I usually go, but I feel like this topic's going to take up most of my next couple of weeks. Oh, by the way, I'm back on Breakfast with Champions on June 8th at 10:30. Feel free to stop by. But that said, again, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a doctor of chiropractic from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and I hope you and we can get into alignment. Everybody have a good day.